What is up, guys? Welcome to the 21st overall episode of the Intersect Project podcast and the Season 2, Episode 8 episode of the Intersect Project podcast. Chuck versus Gravitron. Not the Gravitron. I don't know if that's a grammatical error or if this is actually how you say it. It's just Chuck versus Gravitron. Either way, it's kind of weird, but it's a good episode, so we'll dive in. Once again, I'd like to thank you for listening. I would do more explaining on that, but I wrote a whole letter on chuckaholics.com, so if you get a chance, go over there and read that. It's just a simple thank you letter. And so let's just dive into the episode, friends. Let's dive into Chuck versus the Gravitron. So, sorry, I said it. See, I made that mistake. It's not Chuck versus the Gravitron. It's Chuck versus Gravitron. So, let's dive right in. First off, we start with the two segments that everybody loves. I assume everybody loves because nobody has said they hated it yet, so it has to mean they love it. And we'll start with Song of the Episode. Not a lot of music in this, and my song choice is not necessarily the best choice for the scenario, but I like it the best out of the three songs that were used in the show. And that is, the song of the episode is Can You Tell by Rah Rah Riot. Now, this is probably not a popular choice of people because it is playing when Jill and Chuck just got through making sweet, sweet love. Yeah, it sounds weird, I know, but that's what happened. And I don't know, it's a catchy tune. And that's why I picked it. Because not necessarily the best for the scenario, but overall the catchiest tune by far. So, congratulations, Rah Rah Riot. You've won Chuck versus Gravitron, the song of the episode. So, there you go. There's that. And hit of the episode, we have a surprise winner this week. Now, there is not a lot of, there's not a lot of hitting per se in this episode. I mean, people do get hit, but it's not a lot. So I went with a choice that I didn't think I was going to make, but man, was it a good choice. It ends up being Big Mike, the store manager, with the hit of the week for his complete destruction of the leader. And by complete destruction, I mean he just demolished that guy. And that guy stood no chance. And it was funny. He just sat there and he just clotheslined the hell out of him. And it was impressive. Makes me wonder if Big Mike was a linebacker back in the day. Maybe played a little high school football so he could get the honeys. But who knows? So, there you have it. Our special, surprise winner of Hit of the Episode this week goes to Big Mike. Now, I don't think he's going to win the overall season, so I may not include him in the scoreboard check from here on out. But this week, he's earned it. He's earned to join that scoreboard. So, for those of you not keeping track at home, I'm going to tell you the Hit of the Episode score. Now, so far for Season 2, we have Sarah Walker with a defining lead at 6 wins. And we have Chuck with a win, solid win, and we have Big Mike also tied with Chuck for Hit of the Week. Number of Hit of the Weeks. Hits of the Weeks. Hit of the Weeks. I'm not sure how to pluralize that, honestly, but he's got one too. So, congratulations. And I hope if somehow Mark Christopher Lawrence is somehow listening to this podcast, congratulations. Your tackle was very impressive, and I was thoroughly amused, and it was perfect. So there we have it. That does it for Hit of the Episode. And so that takes care of those two segments. So let's dive right into the tales of the episode. Alright, so as we open up this episode, we have Thanksgiving in Burbank. Yes, it is that time of year again. I mean, we have a flashback to Jill and Chuck on the Ferris wheel, but who cares about that? We don't want Chill and Chuck together. Chill and Chuck. Yeah, I said that. I apologize. Jill and Chuck. We don't want them together. We're on the Chuck and Sarah bandwagon. So, we're going to avoid that flashback. Because really the only thing that it serves a purpose to is to show that they match it up later on in the episode. So, Chuck is laying in bed with Jill, and he finds out. He flashes on a message she receives. Turns out he's starting to think she's Fulcrum. He doesn't want to admit it, but he's suspecting. And so he runs out to go get coffee to go call Sarah and them to find out, and they've already found him. And guess what? Yeah, she is Fulcrum. And he now knows it because he flashed on her name, Sandstorm. And so he is super nervous and not enjoying the whole playing nice scenario he has to do now. He has to pretend like he doesn't know she's Fulcrum and just go with the flow, which is super difficult for Chuck because he gets nervous easy, and you can tell when he's nervous. And so that's that at least. And so what I'm going to do, just a quick heads up right now, is I'm going to talk about the Team Bartowski aspect of everything, and then I'm going to come back and do the buy more last. Just change things up a little bit. Usually we do it the opposite. But anyway, so now we have to have Sad Chuck back. And we all know who Sad Chuck is. Sad Chuck is the Chuck who doesn't think he's ever going to have a normal life, or any aspect of his life is going to be normal ever again. So that Chuck's back, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing, because that Chuck is kind of annoying, but it's an understandable annoyance, obviously. So they tells Chuck he's got a spy on her, find out where her handler is, leader, as he's called, who turns out to be a big, scary dude, and I completely understand why they call him leader. And so, back in the exact same scenario as the flashback, Chuck is on the Ferris wheel, and he is as nervous as he was before. Very different reasons, but he was as nervous as before. And Jill takes him hostage. Gun to his chest. Now, before she puts the gun to his chest, they kiss. And this is not possible without Sarah teaching Chuck about how to learn when a spy, or trying to, I guess, deduce, or not deduce, I'm guessing, influence, that's the word I'm looking for, influence a counter spy operation. Like, in this case, Sarah wants Chuck to influence Jill to think that he has no idea what's going on, and he's just there for the ride, and he is in love with her. And she does this by teaching him, hey, this is how you can show a spy that the mark is, I guess, under her power. And she teaches him this technique, and it's a close call. Looks like they're about to kiss, and she backs out of it for obvious reasons. But I mean, she kind of started it, so those feelings are kicking back up again. But let's just say it was a near kiss. You guys are laughing really hard at that one, right? Instead of near miss, it's near kiss. Yeah, I'll quit doing jokes if that's not that funny. I'll quit doing jokes. Sorry, I thought that would be funny to do. So, and I laughed. So, I laughed when I thought about it. So, you know what? I don't hate doing it. I did it. And so they do the whole scenario, and obviously she takes him hostage. Well, she doesn't want to kill him, so she punches the leader in the face. And Chuck runs away, and they meet in the Gravitron. Chuck wins in the Gravitron by perfect timing of the Gravitron itself. So, Chuck runs to the mirror house, and Jill tells him what he wants to hear. And then the leader gets shot as he's threatening to shoot Chuck. But as we learn later, it's really all a play, and it has been an entire play since the beginning, since the Ferris wheel at least, but probably since she found out he was a CIA agent. Since then, I'm pretty sure it's been a setup. It's pretty much been a setup since then. The whole Fulcrum scenario in last week's episode with the opera thing, the handoff with the list or whatever, obviously she was never actually in any danger because it was another Fulcrum agent, and he pretty probably knew that she was Fulcrum, so there's that. So while it turns out the whole thing's been a setup the whole time, that it's really not been a setup the whole time. And well, it has been a setup the whole time. It's been a setup since at least the Ferris wheel, but probably before that. So she shoots him on purpose, and they run off. And they're captured, or Jill is captured by Chuck, or Sarah, and Casey, and that's really because, as I said before, she wasn't really captured. It was kind of her plan all along to get captured. So they take her back. She does the lie detector test, where obviously at this point we see she is able to maneuver or influence the lie detector test and act like she's telling the truth when she's really not. So we see a lot of her manipulation in this scene. We start to get a feeling that she's it seems like she's not manipulating the scene. It seems like one more time she's like, hey, trust us, but I'm like, at this point she's tried to get us to trust her way too many times. I don't know if I believe this polygraph. Turns out I was right. And I'm pretty sure you Chuck fans are smart. You probably thought the same thing too. So they go capture the leader, which again is part of the plan, and Chuck gets his alone time with Jill, and he goes back to the person he really is. And that's a person who trusts just about everyone who's had an impact in his life. He just wants to trust everybody. I mean, and I think that's what makes Chuck one of the better characters in TV. It's because he's so trusting. He's willing to believe the good in people, even in terrible scenarios where it seems like it might not be the best idea. He's always willing to trust the people, trust everyone, which, again, like I said, it makes him a great character, but it also makes him just a wonderful human being, because it means he's always wanting the best out of people. And a lot of people and people react well to people who want the best out of everybody. So he obviously goes in there and he asks Jill about, their past, their future, and obviously she lies. And that gets everybody captured and locked in the holding cells in Castle, with Chuck, Sarah, and Casey are locked in. Luckily, once again, Chuck is quick on his feet and is able to come up with a way to get everybody out of there. And so then the battle at the Bymore begins. Casey and Leader are fighting each other, and Big Mike comes in just in time, clotheslines Leader and launches him like 10, 15 feet backwards. Perfect tackle. Form clothesline. And then Sarah is chasing Jill, but Jill gets the drop on Sarah and is about to shoot her. But Chuck gets a drop on her first. On Jill first. And he convinces her that he's going to let her go and to come with him. and then he detains her in the NerfHerder mobile, because once someone threatens Sarah's life, trusting Chuck goes out the window. At that point, he's like, hey, no, you're not. You're not going to take her down. And he goes ape, and he walks off. He's done. He has nothing. He doesn't want anything more to do with Jill. And that's the end of Jill and Chuck. So then we get, a scene at the end with Sarah and Chuck talking. Mostly Chuck apologizing because he didn't trust Sarah again, like she told him to do at the beach at the beginning. And Sarah doing her typical, it's okay. I mean, I understand, because she's learning more about Chuck. Every time this happens, she just learns something new about him, and it in a good way though, because it's making her develop these feelings for Chuck that eventually, go to love, as we've seen already. That she's pretty much in love with him from all the context clues, but the obviously she's in love with him, and all these scenarios I think help play a part in that. Like, she just keeps learning how much Chuck trusts in people and how he wants the best for each of them. And as I said earlier, people really respond to that. They really respond to people who believe in everybody. So, I mean, I think that's not a big reason necessarily, but it is part of the reason why I think she falls in love with him, is because of certain things like this, where he's willing to trust people, and it shows the humanity in him, something she's really never seen before, which is what she really likes. So they go in, they have Thanksgiving dinner. Now let's go to the Buy More / Ellie and Awesome. Now, like I said earlier, it's Thanksgiving in Burbank, and technically the day before. And Ellie has learned that the Awesomes, Devin's parents, are coming to visit, and she is very nervous because if he's Captain Awesome, his parents must be super duper awesome. So they must be pretty much perfect. But so obviously she's fretting, which is understandable. And so she's freaking out, cleaning the apartment, trying to make it spotless, and she's trying to make the perfect turkey and everything. And she uninvites Morgan from Thanksgiving because she wants a perfect dinner. And obviously Morgan's upset about this, and Big Mike overhears it. So he has now been assigned to work at the Buy More on Thanksgiving to protect the merchandise from thieves with Jeff and Lester. So they spend Thanksgiving locked in the Buy More, except Morgan's like, hey, I'm going to go get us a real turkey. So he escapes to go back to the Ellie and Chuck's apartment to get the turkey she threw away, the practice turkey, so he can take it back to the Buy More. But at this point, we find out, well, guess what? Captain Awesome's parents they're not coming to town anymore. So so she invites Morgan back to Thanksgiving, and he gets Jeff and Lester invited, but he accidentally spills the beans about Jill, at least. And now Ellie knows. And she obviously is freaked out because she doesn't like Jill, because she doesn't like Chuck reminiscing about his past because of how negative it was. So she's not a big fan of that, obviously. Well, later on, she finds out, well, they're not a thing anymore. Well, she technically is told that they were never a thing, but she's just happy to know that him and Chuck and Sarah are back, and that's what she wants. And it all ends with a nice Thanksgiving dinner. And there you have it, folks. That is Chuck versus Gravitron. I'm sorry this episode's kind of short. I didn't really mean for it to be really short. Everything important in this episode was pretty much hashed out in the previous 2 episodes, and it's not really new. Except for the fact that Jill has been tricking Chuck this entire time, which kind of was hinted at when you found out she was a Fulcrum agent. So, it's not a huge surprise that she was pretty much tricking him the whole time, just manipulating him to doing what she wanted to get the job done for Fulcrum. So, there you have it. Chuck and Jill are no more. Chuck and Sarah are now back to their cover relationship, and there you have it. They're going to hopefully things will start improving, but obviously this is going to affect Chuck, so look for that next week's episode. Look for him to be a little hesitant to do stuff, to talk about things. Actually, it's Chuck. He's going to talk about things, but that's what we love about him. So there we have it, folks. Chuck versus Gravitron. Once again, thanks for listening to the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at ChuckRewatch33, capital C in Chuck. You can go check out Chuckaholics, go support them. It's nice to get the whole community together for stuff. And hey, if you want to talk about Chuck, just send me some tweets. Send me a direct message on Twitter. I'm always willing to talk. And let's take this podcast to new heights this year, people. Let's get it to the top. So there you have it, folks. Remember, everybody loves Chuck. Some people. They just don't know it yet. Signing off.